We're going to have a pit lane start. Pole position is Sloane Frost, but is not on the track at the moment. It's drama aplenty.
And he is coming down for a pit lane start, ladies and gentlemen. So
Okay.
they're away, and Sloane will have to wait until all the bikes enter turn 1 before he's allowed to leave pit lane.
We've got a start there, of course. We've got a start there. 13 bikes on the track in the Superbike Championships, and it was Tony Rees was early through there in the start, but it looks to me that means that is the flying Honda number 77 of James Smith there. James Smith followed by Tony Rees on boat number 11, so it's Honda, and Hayden Fitzgerald. Dennis Charlotte, and then Jaden Hassan. So Dennis Charlotte qualified 6th and was on the second row of the grid. That would have put him not having the advantage of being behind that gap there that Sloane Frost left. So as you've seen, Sloane Frost, he's going into the hairpin now as the guys are braking at the front of the field. 15-lap race here at Manfield for Higgins for the first time, and it is Tony Rees sitting there in second place. Dennis Charlotte is moving up on him, but not quite enough to get there. 157 points for Charlotte. The big sad news of the week is Nick Cole sidelined after being attacked in a bar in Hamilton last weekend and had his jaw broken in several places and is in a hospital in Hamilton. So that's the Red Devil Racing team sideline. They are down here supporting the championships at Manfield. Come down here to put on the show for the sponsors, but my heart goes out to the family. So back to you, Ian.
James Smith, he's pulling out a good gap there in first place. He's got maybe 6 or 7 bike lengths ahead of Tony Rees, who's probably the same distance from Dennis Charlotte. Nice pace being carried by James Smith through the first lap, and looks like Jaden Hassan having a move.
Jaden Hassan, I think, was up there in second place there earlier in the qualifying, but slipped back to 4th with Sloane Frost, Hayden Fitzgerald, Tony Rees, Jaden Hassan, James Smith, Dennis Charlotte, Linda McGee, Craig Sheriff, Scotty Moyer and Phil Lovett, the top 10. Scotty Moyer had a crash at Higgins. When I first got here, he was over in the kitty litter at Higgins. So I tell you who was on fire yesterday was the number 56 machine, the local man, fielding man, Craig Sheriffs. Hasn't got it all together at the moment, but sitting there in 6th place on the track. So action aplenty, 14 laps to go as they come across for the second lap. 15-lap race. It is still Smith. Honda out in the front too. And who's that moving up? Jaden Hassan is trying to move up into Dennis Charlotte. Now, Jaden Hassan's had some spectacular rides this season. Currently sitting 7th in the championship points, but he's certainly on the back of Dennis Charlotte. Dennis Charlotte qualified 6th here. He's the man in line to win the New Zealand Superbike Championship. Indeed, there is a 47-point difference between him and Scotty Moyer between 1st and 3rd. I mentioned that Nick Cole's there in 2nd and not here for the weekend. Scotty Moyer had a spectacular race win last weekend. I think I'm looking at him out there in 2, 4, 6, 8th place on the track. Indeed, that is Scotty Moyer out there in 8th place on the track. So from going to having a win and setting a lap record at Taupo last weekend, that's not the greatest thing. But I'll tell you who's the fastest man on the track out there at the moment on a 106.8. 5085, 106085 is Jaden Hassan on the bike number 41. Spectacular on the Suzuki New Zealand Motor Metzler tired sponsored machine, also sponsored by Unison Oils, Rivetti, Race Supplies and a number of other ones. But it is still James Smith, followed by Tony Rees. Tony Rees, many laps around Manfield, was the last man ever to win a New Zealand Castrol 6-hour race here, riding with Dave Hicks. Now Jaden Hassan's moved up into 3rd place. Jaden Hassan, the fastest man on the track, has moved up into 3rd place here in Templeton.
And I've just seen Sloane Frost make a pass there on Sophie Lovett, so he's managed to pick up 2 places already, and he's doing a really good lap time there. Actually, he's pulling out a 106.142, which is not much behind the fastest lap of the race so far by Jaden Hassan, so Sloane Frost doing everything he can to pick up some places there.
Having a look at Linda McGee, the M1 Motorsport BMW S1000R rider coming from Australia, struggling with the track at Manfield. He did come here before for the Suzuki Series in December, but had a huge crash when he got tapped coming out of turn 2. And I mean, there's something like 28 photos of that taken by Terry Stevenson of Hamilton there of that crash, and he did well to come away from that, and so did the team. And Lyndon on fire last weekend, unfortunately, had another crash, and he's sitting in 9th place. And I see the bike not handling that well coming out of the hairpin, so that's got to explain a bit, because the man is capable of getting out there in the front. He set the fastest lap of the race at some stage during the race down at Timmins. Timaru this year at levels for the second round of the New Zealand Championship, but fastest man on the track is still Jaden Hassan, and they set that in the early laps. Everyone now on lap 4. It is James Smith leading. He's had a win this year in the New Zealand Superbike Championships, and sponsored by the Waimate March Hare rally team as well. The March Hare has just gone on in the first weekend of March this year. It has been running for about 20 years, so they'll be watching this race at home and at work or whatever through CTAS live timing. So James Smith's had some great rides on and off, and he crashed last weekend at Taupo and was carrying injury last weekend, but still dominating at the moment. The New Zealand Superbike Championship race here at Manfield, the first race of 5 this weekend, and he goes into Pepsi Max Sweeper. There's probably 15 bike lengths between first and second, and probably about 20 between second and third. The pack is on there for third, fourth, fifth and sixth place, and this will be Dennis Charlotte going through there, followed by Hayden Fitzgerald. Craig Sheriff is coming through there quite fast as well. Craig Sheriff on his local track there, so not much. There's probably 1.5 to 2 seconds separating the top 7 riders here at Manfield, 6 riders here at Manfield Park. There's Scotty Moyers making the move over and above Christchurch's Ryan Hampton on the bike number 87. Had a win last weekend, not on fire yet, but he is certainly out there for the trying, and it is definitely all action on. 10 laps to go. We're a third of the race through. 10 lap races today for all the classes at 6 Superbikes. They get 1 warm-up lap, and then after that, except for the Superbikes, get 2 warm-up laps. So Ian Templeton, I see that Tony Rees is starting to reel in on that lead of James Smith. He'll be realising that he's carrying injury and definitely closing in.
Absolutely, Spider. I can see Tony, he's trying very, very hard into turns 1 and the final turn. So he feels that's where he can make up the positions. And looks like they've just slowly starting to pull away there from Jaden Hassan and Dennis Charlotte 4th, and Craig Sheriff's back in 6th place. Craig's been struggling a wee bit this season, but not for lack of trying or lack of preparation. So yeah, look, all the Superbike guys out there, they're all riding, you know, within half a second of lap record pace, really.
But over that, the lap record was set way back in 2008, not much over that, the 105.343. I was looking at the screen, I'm thinking the fastest man on the lap's not out there, fastest lap's not out there, but it is indeed in 11th place, 105.744. Now, the lap record is a 105.343. Sloane Frost in qualifying, which doesn't count for a lap record, but Sloane Frost in qualifying qualified on pole position with a 105.303. Also just over that was Hayden Fitzgerald, a 105.365. So Sloane Frost's the fastest man on the track now. He's in 11th spot at the moment. We have to have a look through for the points. He sits in 4th place with 94 points over and behind Scotty Moyer with 110. Now this position should change.
And Tony Rees making the move through to first place.
Here comes Jaden Hassan's gone up there into second. In fact, Jaden Hassan might even go through there into first place. So definitely Jaden Hassan is on fire. So Tony Rees, I didn't see where that happened. That probably happened on the big Pepsi Max corner. So Tony Rees, mate, this is a guy that was the last ever guy to win both the 600 and the Superbike class in the same year on the Yamaha's R1 and R6s. And did the Ironman thing where he run 2 classes there and won the championships, and it's a long time since he's won a New Zealand Superbike Championship race, but he is out there in the lead, and we've got 8 laps to go, just under halfway through the race, and definitely Tony Rees is on fire here at Manfield. Jaden Hassan's out in fire, but still Sloane Frost coming through there. He is now in 10th place, just past Phil Lovett and Sophie Lovett. Richard Taylor is in last place there at 13. Richard had a bad weekend last weekend, got a puncture in one of the races, but come through from that. And Richard Taylor out there, I think he owns the bike that Sloane Frost used to race a couple of seasons ago, the BMW S1000R. So right now, they come on to it for lap 9. It is Tony Rees. Now, Tony Rees is a man, a Honda dealer in the Wakatani. Jaden Hassan goes up there, and 71 thousandths of a second between it, but Jaden Hassan wants his first ever New Zealand Superbike Championship win. And he's on fire to do it. He passed coming into Toyota, outbraked, pulled up on the inside of Tony Rees and outbraked him. But don't discount number 77, the flying Honda of Christchurch's Christchurch's James Smith. Hayden Fitzgerald's got a break on Dennis Charlotte, the current New Zealand points leader. The 3 Suzuki New Zealand riders are following the leader as well, and it is Hayden Fitzgerald over and above Dennis Charlotte. Devon Charlotte qualified in 6th on the underground brown Suzuki GSXR 1000. He's under threat by Craig Sheriffs as well. Scotty Moyer having a lonely ride on another Suzuki, followed by Ryan Hampton, has been passed by Sloane Frost, so Sloane Frost certainly a man on the move. Number 9, he qualified on pole, had to have a pit lane start. He's 9th, he's moved up to 8th place. It's a long way ahead to reel in Scotty Moyer, who set a lap record and won the Superbike race last weekend, at Taupo. They come round on the straight, 7 laps to go. After this it'll be 6, and it's still Jaden Hassan out there in the front. He's made a break for it. He's got 0.3 of a second, almost 0.4 of a second over and above Tony Rees, and Jaden Hassan riding number 41 on Metzler tyres. KSS suspension, that'll be Olin suspension on the home buyers reports. GSXR 1000 Suzuki. Don't discount Tony Rees, he's reeling them back in as well. He knows he's fastest through the infield, so certainly it's and I'll tell you what, Jaden Hassan's probably, he's just on 20 or thereabout, not even 20 years old, but more than twice the age as Tony Rees, and the door was shut out there for Tony Rees. Tried him on the hairpin and almost shut him out. In Templeton.
It looks like Dennis Charlotte got pushed wide there by Scott Moyer, but I've been watching Hayden Fitzgerald for the last couple of laps, and he's closed up onto the leading 3, and he's now within a couple of bike lengths of James Smith, and I'd say look for him to make a move into Pepsi, and here he goes. What a fantastic move.
There's only 3 people in the 105s, 105.5 Sloane Frost, 105.9 for Scotty Moyer, and a 105.8.
And James Smith just coming back through underneath Hayden on the exit there, so getting a better run, but Hayden's going to try and take him on brakes. This is a fantastic dice for 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Well, often the Superbikes will have a compact first few laps and then spread out, but it's the other way around here at Manfield Park for the first of 5 dynamic Superbike races, and we watch Tony Rees closes up a bit of the ground, and 3 to 4 bike lengths behind the bike number 41, the home buyers report. Suzuki GSXR 1000 of Jaden Hassan, mate. This guy's a legend, and he's having a bit of a cleaner season than he had other seasons. He was riding the 600 and definitely out there winning more races than not, but also he'd win or bin it, but he seems to have settled down a bit and looked at his whole riding, just the whole aspect of the riding, and certainly riding a lot smoother. Of course you have to, these Superbikes bike back bigger, but there's probably 8 bike lengths in it. There's Jaden Hassan machine just a little bit quicker down the back straight, and we're looking out for number 4th as well, and that's Hayden Fitzgerald on the Ross Graham Motors sponsored machine is reeling in James Smith. This is the podium sitting there, the top 4 riders sitting in there. Scotty Moyer's, no, it's not even Scotty Moyer. Craig Sheriffs is moving up there. Craig Sheriffs is moving up there, followed by Dennis Charlotte. Scotty Moyer's under threat. Not under threat, threatening Dennis Charlotte there. So it's 2, 4, 6, 7th, 6th place for Dennis Charlotte. Now here's a man who qualified 9th and started the races 9th at Timaru, reeled his way right through the front just about in every race and got some wins down at Timaru. So seems to be struggling this weekend, Dennis Charlotte, 106.378, and Sloane Frost is closer to lap record time of 105.377. The lap record has been held for 6 years at 105.343. So Sloane Frost moving up through the field in 8th spot as we see him coming out of the hairpin. There goes Dennis Charlotte popping a wheelie, and it slows him down a bit. And Scotty Moyle on the bike number 87, the ProMoto sponsored Moto TT GSXR 1000 is reeling him in there. We look out there to Jaden Hassan, probably 40 metres back, and got a bit more speed down that back straight over and above Tony Rees. And it is in 3rd place still James Smith, but Hayden Fitzgerald closes right up on the inside, tries right on the outside of the Pepsi Max corner. He'll be trying to tuck it in and drive up, get the drive onto this front straight. We've got 4 laps to go of the first race of New Zealand Superbike. There goes Hayden Fitzgerald up on the inside of James Smith on the 77 machine. James Smith is carrying a bit of injury as well. Hayden's had a bit of a tough season. He had a run out of fuel in the race down in Ruapuna this year, and then he got knocked off his bike in one of the Superbike races at Timaru, and then last weekend he had a crash. He hit the white lines on the chicane coming onto the front straight at Taupo and was off there.
Scotty Moyer, what a pass through into Splash there and into the hairpin. He's just made a fantastically clean move on Dennis Charlotte.
Sloane Frost is dropping down the field. Sloane Frost, in fact, that's Sloane Frost, is it? Off at Higgins. Sloane Frost is off at Higgins. So Sloane Frost, fastest man on the track, but he is up. He is up, definitely. Sloane Frost is out of the Superbike action here at Manfield. The actions are plenty. Remember, there'll be a yellow flag out of that corner, so no passing, but no one's close enough to pass at the moment. But definitely Jaden Hassan. Just 3 laps to go of a 15-lap race. Tomorrow we've got... Tomorrow we're going to have a look out there. It is 12 laps tomorrow for race 2, 15 for race 3. In fact, it's 15 and 20 laps for the finale of the New Zealand Superbike Championship. There it is. Jaden Hassan goes through there and doing it all in style. 0.61 of a second or something between first and second place. I'll tell you what, my money's almost on Hayden Fitzgerald. He had second in the New Zealand Grand Prix down at Christchurch about 3 or 4 years ago. Just got some seconds at Whanganui in the Superbike class, also running the Superlight Formula 3 class as well, but he's sitting there in 3rd place. Tony Rees is starting to make the move up on, he's going to go on the inside here of Jaden Hassan. He's tried that a couple of times this race, but doesn't quite make it stick, but there's 3 to 4 bike lengths in it. 2 laps to go, and 3rd in the podium there at the moment is Hayden Fitzgerald. That is indeed in 4th place, sorry, James Smith. Craig Sheriffs has moved up on Scotty Moyer. Dennis Charlotte sitting there in a lonely 7th spot, and Dennis Charlotte is currently points leader, and he's got 47 points over and above 3rd place. 2nd place is Nick Cole. Nick Cole unfortunately sidelined and in hospital at the moment due to a incident outside of motorcycle racing after last weekend's Taupo round. So here we go, the white flag is out. It's time for all the gloves to come off. The gloves are coming off, and it is still Jaden Hassan out there in the lead with a 106.085.
And Hayden Fitzgerald up the inside. Fantastic move into turn 1 to take 2nd place. Now, the big question is, can he keep his head down and can he catch Jaden Hassan?
Well, I possibly think he is. He's in the 105.8, which is only 0.2 of a second ahead. He'll be eyeing him up. He's done a lot more laps around here than Jaden Hassan. He's a man that's equally as happy on a classic bike, a Formula 3 bike, Superlight bike, or a Superbike. They're closing right up now. They're closing right up. It is still Hassan. There's 2 to 3 bike lengths in it. Hassan's got the speed down the centre straight over and above the RGM-sponsored GSXR 1000, but Tony Rees is still in the picture big time. Fitzgerald takes the wide line there. He's going to close up on the inside and try to get the drive on this front straight. Tony Rees is the big winner in that game there. There's 5 bike lengths between 1st and 2nd, and less than that between 2nd and 3rd. Don't forget James Smith, the early race leader, in 4th place, and Craig Sheriffs is coming on form as well, followed by Scotty Moyer. Final lap, the checkered flag gets out there.
And here we come. It's Jaden Hassan leading by a couple of bike lengths over Hayden Fitzgerald taking 2nd place, and Tony Rees in 3rd, to James Smith in 4th, Craig Sheriff in 5th, and Scott Moyer 6th. That would leave Dennis Charlotte in 7th place. Unusual position for Dennis to be in. And that would be Ryan Hampton
coming through. Ryan Hampton followed by Lyndon McGee, and we're looking out for the Australian team of Phil Lovett. Phil had mechanical problems here yesterday, didn't quite get up to speed in that, and Phil Lovett's out